Welcome to this celebration, this memorial, this remembrance of someone who has left an indelible mark on all our lives. I'm just curious. If Steve Rose touched you in any way, would you do me a favor? Would you just stand up and sit back down? I just want to know who I'm talking to this morning. Oh, I'm talking to everybody this morning. It is simply amazing that our Heavenly Father every now and then brings someone into our life who has the uncanny ability to touch us in a special way. I was talking to, hey Tom, I was talking to Todd Sober just in the lobby, and Todd and I both we finally conceded that we always thought that, well, let me ask this, because me and Todd found out otherwise. Who in this room thought you were Steve Rose's favorite? Whether it was being presidential or being daddy, he had the ability to make us all feel like we had the unique relationship. And that's what's so special about our friend, our leader, this amazing college president that sets the bar for all college presidents. And this is why we're here today. So today is not carrying in sadness, because there's no way that he would allow us to have a sad memorial. So we're gonna come, there'll be funny stories, there'll be laughter, there'll be some tears, but there'll be tears because tears are significant to recognize the life of people who have impacted us. And so they won't be sad tears, there'll be tears because of the impact that he's had on our life. So we want you to go along with us on this ride as we celebrate the man, Stephen Rose. At this time, we're going to ask our chair of our board of trustees to come, Brother Marco, to come at this time and lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Lassiter. That's on? Okay, good. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all. Thank you.
At this time, we should have asked you to remain standing. We're going to ask our very own Reverend Kathy Risher to come and give us our invocation, and then immediately following that, we'll have a musical selection at that time.
Let us stand. Let us pray. May the work I've done speak for me. May the life I lived speak for me. May the service I gave speak for me. Gracious God, the author and finisher of our faith, now we have gathered in our shared collective grief to remember our leader. We understand that death leaves a heartache no human can heal, but love leaves a memory no one can steal. We thank you for our late President, Dr. Stephen Michael Rose. We thank you for the rich legacy he leaves in the state of New Jersey, the county of Passaic, and in higher education. We thank you that President Rose now rests from his labor, his hard work, dedication, and commitment, and his good deeds follow him. We thank you for his family, his precious and devoted wife, Alexia, his daughters, Emily and Jenna, and their spouses, Rebecca and Robert, his brother, Hal, his nieces, Daniel and Kira, and Dylan, and his nephew, Brad. I pray that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of our forefathers, would comfort you now and in the days to come, that God would wrap God's comforting arms of love around you and allow the light to pierce the shadows of sorrow and fear, and bless you with shalom in your hearts, shalom in your minds, and shalom in your homes, and encourage your weary souls. And as God comforts the bereaved family, God will also comfort the beloved community who also mourns with you in this great loss. Now, God be with us. We invoke your presence in this place. Be our comforter, be our healer, be our guide. Amen.
Oh, come on, well, you can do better than that. They were amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. There is so much talent in the house of Passaic County Community College, and that is proof that is what is in the house and what Dr. Rose attracted to this place to make this one of the best community colleges in the nation. So we thank God. Thank you again for that. At this time, we're moving right into the story of life and legacy. And I'm going to get out of the way because this group of individuals that are coming are amazing group of people who are here who have their own stories to share. So I'm going to get out of the way. We're going to open up in the order in which you see. We have the mayor of the great city of Passaic, who is an amazing in himself. Mayor Hector Laura is here. Our county director commissioners here. Sandy Lazar, and then traveling all the way from the State House with us. He's putting on a lot of mileage across New Jersey. Our very own, the Reverend Dr. Dale Caldwell, our Secretary of State and Lieutenant Governor, and Dr. Aaron Fisher. Did I get that right? Fishner, Dr. Fishner. And then we're going to close out in this order with our newly elected Rocky Balboa, Andre Saya.
Good morning, Passaic County Community College family. Thank you. On behalf of the city of Passaic and my family personally, we not only extend our condolences for the loss, but I want to share that we join with you in celebrating the life and legacy of Dr. Rose. I know that there are going to be many words spoken, and I have the awesome responsibility of being first, perhaps to ensure that I won't go long. I'll admit to you that's a bit maybe counterintuitive for me. I tend to speak long, but I can't imagine anything that would be more fitting in honoring Dr. Rose than me trying to be as succinct as possible, because he would always remind me, keep it short. I thought it was so appropriate, Reverend Lassiter, that you began the ceremonies with laughter, because whenever I think of Dr. Rose, I can see his smile and his distinct laughter. He had this remarkable balance, for me at least, when I would see him in different settings, the ability to exude confidence while still being approachable, relatable, humble, and sometimes even embracing a little bit of self-deprecating humor. I always enjoyed that about him, as we joked whenever he would come to Passaic to the satellite site. I want to share a little bit about my experience with Dr. Rose. When I began by saying good morning, Passaic County Community College family, it is to let you know that I am an alumni of the college, and I benefited directly from his leadership and his mentorship. What I always found most wonderful about him was that character, that he was approachable and relatable. I say that because long before I ever held a title, I always had that perception of individuals who had these amazing platforms, or they were elevated to positions that they were far away, removed from the people. But not with Dr. Rose. See, whether I ran into him in the hall or had to speak to him, he always made me feel welcome and received, especially in very early stages of my education when I wasn't sure where I would end up. I remember how excited I was when I was able to return here as a freeholder, that's what it was called at the time, along with my colleague, Sandy Lazara, and I got to stand on this stage and hear him address so many graduates. As he would, I would remember how he would instill in me confidence and hope and excitement to continue my education. And here's what I would share, perhaps to the best of my ability to honor his memory. I want to tell you what stayed with me and continues to stay with me. I exist in a couple of worlds, one in politics and one in the faith-based community. As a minister, I think Reverend Lassiter and Reverend Bishop can attest to this. Over the years, I've become pretty good at being able to distinguish between believers and those who perform and pretend. It becomes easy. The performative looks great in front of people, but it lacks something, substance. It's sometimes hollow and shallow. Dr. Rose was a believer, a genuine believer in education, in this wonderful institution, and in the opportunities that it would provide for people of all races, all backgrounds, from all over. I knew that 100% because I had personal experiences with him. And not only was he able to convey that with his words, but with his very spirit, with the way that he interacted with the students and those around him. I recall, as I mentioned before, and I'll reiterate, on this same stage at so many graduations where he would address everyone and tell the speakers, come up and say a few words after privately telling us, be succinct and short, and I can hear that, and I know there's other speakers. But when he would talk to the students about how great this place is, it came from a profound and deep place of sincerity and genuine care. I'm going to tell you, Dr. Rose is not the reason why Passaic County Community College exists today, but I propose to you he's very much an important reason why it's so successful. He poured his heart and his life into this place, along with so many who served alongside him. My family benefited from his leadership. There are countless of individuals that went on to university, to serve in our armed forces, to begin a career because they were successful here. When I got to the college, again, I mentioned to you, I was dealing with some challenges, and I'll spare you the details, and I want to conclude with this very quickly. I was a little doubtful, insecure as most people are when they're young and trying to figure out what they're going to do with their lives. I wasn't sure what career I would go into. I admit to you, I'll confess, I had no idea I would become a freeholder or the mayor of a city. But something became clear through the months in classes with individuals of different ages and backgrounds as they approached the education here in the college with a seriousness that sometimes is lacking in other campuses when it's just 18-year-olds thinking that you're here to party. As I was in classrooms with people who were leaving work to continue their education so they can advance in their career, or individuals seeking a second chance because perhaps they started down the wrong path and realized later in life that they wanted to turn things around, it became clear that the quality of education that I was going to receive here would benefit me throughout my entire life. And it also became clear that there were remarkable leaders and mentors that I could tap into for direction and guidance, and among them, perhaps first, was Dr. Rose. When I graduated, I had got the award for a writing grant and scholarship. I graduated magna cum laude, and I was able to get many scholarships to go on to universities. But his advice and counsel before I came up to speak and address everyone who's graduating stays with me to this day. To remember why I came here, and to remember what is possible, and to share that with others. Long after this ceremony, days that follow, years and decades and generations to come, his legacy will continue to inspire, impact, and bless students from Passaic County and from all over. As Reverend Lassiter shared, not in these exact words, but I'll paraphrase, he set the bar and he raised it high for colleges and campuses and institutions of education, not just throughout our entire state, but I propose to you around our nation and around the world. God bless his memory, and God bless his family and all those who work with him. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sandy Lazara, and I have the honor of serving as director of the Passaic County Board of County Commissioners. You know, this day isn't lost on me. I look at the dichotomy of the day where we're here to celebrate such an amazing man, and yet there's a sadness that pervades probably over all of us because we miss him so much. We miss seeing his smiling face, having him come to these meetings and join us. But today, I stand on behalf of the board and the more than 525,000 residents of Passaic County to honor the life of a man whose impact on the community is impossible to measure. Dr. Rose dedicated nearly 40 years of his life to education. For decades, he opened doors for students who may have otherwise believed opportunity was out of reach. He believed in people, in their potential, their future, and their worth. That kind of commitment is rare. That kind of compassion is unforgettable. Education was not simply his profession, it was his purpose. With his master's degree and doctorate degree in education, he could have chosen so many paths in his life. Instead, he chose service. He chose students. He chose our community. And Passaic County is better off because of it. Under his leadership, Passaic County Community College grew beyond its campuses in Patterson. It grew to Wanacue, Wayne, and Passaic. But to me, his true legacy is not found in the buildings or programs. It's found in the people. It is found in the first-generation college student who gained confidence because someone believed in them. In the working parent who found a path to a better future. In the immigrant student who felt safe, protected, and valued. In the thousands of lives forever changed because Dr. Rose cared deeply enough to fight for their success. During some of the most difficult moments our community has faced, including national immigration enforcement challenges and the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Rose led with courage, calm, and compassion. He never lost sight of the people who were depending on him. He understood something so important. When education is accessible, lives change, families change, and communities change. And because of his leadership, countless lives in Passaic County changed for the better. I've seen that in my own family. Students felt his kindness, colleagues felt his guidance, and the county, we felt his heart. To his beloved wife Alexia and daughters Emily and Jenna, please know that your father and husband made a lasting difference in this world. His work mattered. His life mattered. His legacy will continue on through every single student who walks through the doors of PCCC searching for hope and opportunity. On behalf of the Passaic County Board of Commissioners, we extend our deepest condolences and our deepest gratitude. We were truly fortunate to have Dr. Rose in our lives and in the lives of our community. He will forever be remembered. He will forever be honored. And he will forever be deeply missed. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here before so many educational leaders, so many elected officials, and so many people who care so much about everybody, no matter where they are. And so, President Dr. Stephen M. Rose was an outstanding educator, visionary leader, and public servant whose impact on higher education in New Jersey has been nothing short of extraordinary. As the former president of Centenary University, I had the privilege firsthand of knowing and admiring President Rose. In higher education, you learn quickly that true leadership is not defined by your title alone, but by integrity, humility, vision, and the ability to transform lives. President Rose embodied all of those qualities and many, many more. For nearly 3 decades as president of Passaic County Community College, he helped transform the institution into one of the most successful and compassionate colleges in New Jersey. Under his leadership, the college more than doubled in size, expanded campuses throughout the region, and created greater educational opportunities for thousands of students and families. But what made President Rose truly special was his belief in the true power of education to create opportunities and strengthen communities. He understood that community colleges are often the gateway to hope and economic mobility for working families, for first-generation students and individuals seeking a better future and a better life. I admired not only his accomplishments, but also the way he led. He was extremely positive. He treated people with respect, listened thoughtfully, and led with quiet confidence and professionalism. He understood that leadership is ultimately about service. His impact extended far beyond the campus through his leadership with numerous educational, civic, and workforce organizations across New Jersey. He devoted his life to helping institutions grow stronger and helping people, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, to reach their full potential. Today, we celebrate a remarkable career and an even more remarkable person. President Rose leaves behind a legacy of leadership, compassion, excellence, and opportunity that will continue to influence countless lives for many decades to come. On behalf of all of us who respected and admired him, thank you, President Rose, for your leadership, for your service, and your unwavering commitment to higher education and the people of New Jersey. May God bless President Rose, his family, and all those whose lives were touched by his leadership. God bless you, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Aaron Fichtner, president of the New Jersey Council of County Colleges, and it is truly an honor to be here today and to share some reflections on the impact and the legacy of my colleague and friend, President Steve Rose. The last time I was in this gymnasium, it was for commencement of this college last year, when all of the diplomas had been handed out and the tassels of the graduates had been moved from right to left, and the formal speeches had been delivered. President Rose, in full regalia, walked down this ramp, stood in the center aisle between the graduates, and spoke directly to them. With his warm, friendly, and positive voice, and I know you all can imagine his voice right now when I say this, he asked the graduates, "How are you doing? This is a big day," he said. And he went on to remind them that he and all of the faculty and the staff of this college were proud of him, and that they should never forget what they accomplished in their time at this college. It was a moment of genuineness, of humility, and of humanity. And it was a reflection of President Rose's values, his commitment to students and this college. And in this moment, I will always remember that moment fondly when I think of President Rose. Earlier this week, I was speaking with a close colleague who had worked with President Rose for many years, and he summarized quite simply and quite accurately President Rose's legacy. Steve, he said, was truly a good person, and he made a difference. To me and so many others who are here today, President Rose was an educator, a teacher, a mentor, a confidant, a friend. He was always a calming presence, a leader of quiet competence and confidence, a role model, and an inspiration. And he was a treasure trove of information and history about community colleges and higher education in our state. I first met President Rose in 2010 when I was working at the New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development. Passaic County Community College had recently partnered with the county to move the county's one-stop career center to this campus here in Paterson. It's the first community college in the state to do that. The center provided assistance to people who were unemployed and helped them get the advice and training and education they needed to get their lives back in order, to help themselves and their families. He proudly and warmly welcomed me and my colleagues to this campus and gave us a tour. And there were two things that were immediately clear to me from the first moment that I met President Rose. First, that he had a genuine and deep commitment to helping other people. And second, that he had a unique ability to build partnerships, to make connections, to find solutions. It was clear that when others found reasons to say no, Steve found ways to say yes, we can do that. And as I got to know President Rose over the ensuing years, it became clear that he brought that same spirit, that same commitment to everything that he did. He devoted nearly 4 decades to this college, working to expand educational and economic opportunity to tens of thousands of students, fostering a truly inclusive community where everyone, No matter their background, no matter where they were born, what language they spoke at home, what their educational journey was, their age, this was their home, this was their community college. He was a deep believer in the mission and essential role of community colleges, a believer that higher education changes lives, that everyone deserves the opportunity to pursue and to achieve their dreams. And as we have heard and will hear this morning, President Rose, his impact here on Passaic County and on this college was immense and impossible to quantify. But his impact extended far beyond the borders of this county. For nearly 30 years as president of the college, President Rose was a leader among all of the community college presidents. Understanding that community colleges were stronger when we worked together and shared information and resources, President Rose was instrumental in building the New Jersey Council of County Colleges into the collaborative organization that it is today. He was a constant, reassuring, positive, thoughtful presence through good times and through times of challenge. He was often the most important voice of reason and perspective in the room, and I know that all of the community college presidents who are here today can attest to that. I can count on one hand the number of quarterly meetings of the council or the monthly meetings of the presidents that he missed. He was always there when he was needed. He served as chair of the community college presidents not once, but twice. He led key council committees, including in academics, state policy, and operations. He was respected and admired by all of his colleagues. His wisdom and guidance shaped nearly every state policy program and investment in community colleges in New Jersey over the past 30 years. He was there when the Chapter 12 program was started, when NJ STARS was begun, the Community College Opportunity Grant Program, the TAG program, and so many others. His fingerprints were on all of those policies and all of those programs. He was a pillar of higher education, a tireless advocate for state policies and investments that benefited students and a respected voice among the state's college and university presidents. He served as chair of the New Jersey President's Council, and in this role, he was instrumental in building a strong ecosystem of colleges and universities in the state. And he found time to serve on the board of trustees of other colleges and universities, giving back in many, many ways. He was a respected leader outside of higher education. He served on the board of the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce and chaired their chamber foundation. Governors, lieutenant governors, state legislators, leaders of state departments, business and community leaders all sought out President Rose for his insight and perspective. And his impact expanded nationally as well. He was an active participant in the work of national organizations, including the American Association of Community Colleges and the National Association of Community College Trustees, helping to shape national higher education policy. He served as a commissioner of the Middle States Commission on Higher Education and was a widely respected, admired leader in higher education across the region. He was heavily involved in the national work of Phi Theta Kappa and achieving the dream. He was committed to students and to their success. And in all of these ways and so many more, President Rose made a difference. And beyond these many contributions, Steve was truly a good person. He was a constant and reassuring presence, someone who always showed up for others, who was deeply committed to his community and led with genuine warmth and positivity. His impact will be felt for many years, and he'll be remembered not only for his leadership, but for the care, authenticity, and optimism that he brought to every interaction. His generosity of spirit truly knew no bounds, and he believed in helping others. He was a mentor and confidant to countless community college leaders and university presidents. His colleagues called him regularly for advice on how to navigate significant challenges, and he was always there to listen, to offer thoughtful advice and counsel, and to be a positive, reassuring voice of reason. President Rose always answered my calls, almost immediately, and always with a hearty hello and a positive tone. I thought that I was special, but I think all of you probably share that same exact experience. No matter what was going on, no matter how long it had been since I had talked to him, he was always there. I, like so many of us, relied on and trusted him, his perspective, his judgment, and insights. Seeing the need to mentor and prepare the next generation of community college leaders, President Rose and my predecessor, Larry Nespoli, worked with Rowan University to establish the Community College Leadership Doctorate Program in Education, where he chaired and served on multiple dissertation committees, taught courses to future community college leaders, and was truly a mentor to so many people. There are many of these former students are with us today. It's important for you to know how committed and proud he was of all of you. You are the future leaders of our community colleges. His legacy will endure. Through all of his work and his interactions, President Rose stayed true to his values and beliefs. And I am confident that we can and will honor his legacy by working together to expand educational and economic opportunity to everyone in this county and in our state, by remaining steadfast in the belief that everyone deserves the opportunity to pursue their dreams, by building welcoming, inclusive communities that respect and value everyone, by remaining firm in his core belief that higher education can change lives. I am confident that we can and will honor his legacy by finding solutions and building partnerships. To say yes, we can do that when others find reasons to say no, that cannot be done. To stay relentlessly positive and optimistic even in the face of challenging times, by staying confident that if we stay true to our values and beliefs, that we will figure this out together. We will make this world a better place together. And I am confident that we can and will honor his legacy by finding the time to help others, to be a mentor, to provide advice and guidance, to teach and support, to always show up for others. I will always remember Steve for his humility, his integrity, his generosity, and his relentlessly positive attitude. I'm truly fortunate to have had the opportunity to work alongside him and to call him my colleague and friend. I have learned so much from him. President Rose was truly a good person, and he made a difference. I'm confident that his legacy will endure in all of us, that his legacy will endure in this transformational college. So as we gather here today, let us reflect on the remarkable impact Dr. Steve Rose had on all of us, and quite literally on the tens of thousands of students whose lives were transformed by his work and by his leadership. And let us commit to honoring his legacy by helping others and by leading with integrity, kindness, and humanity. Thank you.
Good morning, PCCCCC family. First, I could say this with 100% certainty, that I was Dr. Steve Rose's favorite. Current mayor of the city of Paterson. And second, I know I was told I have 45 minutes to speak, but I'll only need 40 minutes of that time. Next week is commencement, and I'm sure that most of us, if not all of us, share the same sentiment. It will never be the same without Dr. Steve Rose. Because it was more than just a commencement, it was a celebration. It was a highlight for all of us. It was the culmination of the work that everyone here does to get those students right in front of us so they can shine, they can have their moment. And he was profoundly proud of all those students. And he enlightened us with data, and he'd use terms that some of us had to Google, like stackable credits. And then he would dive deep and entertain us and say, there are 65 students from the Dominican Republic, 45 from Peru, 20 from Turkey, and 1 from Kazakhstan. I think his name was Borat, by the way. And I enjoyed the opportunity to speak. In fact, he gave me 2 minutes to talk, but I tried to make the most of it. And I talked about Bruce Springsteen and how he was at, over 200 concerts, which has to be a record somewhere here. And I'd always say that Bruce Springsteen was called the boss, but the real boss was Dr. Steve Rose. And for most, if not all of us, he's the best boss that we ever had. He possessed irrepressible enthusiasm. And he also had boundless optimism. You know why? He was a fan of the New York Mets. You gotta believe, you gotta believe. And what I believe is that Steve is up there talking to God and said, please let them win a World Series this year. They might. But coming back to commencement, those students were his sons and his daughters. He has 2 biological children, but all of those students were family to him. In fact, someone told me I was the son that he never wanted. Alexi, is that true? I think you're the one that said it. But nevertheless, I love him like a father, and he had an avuncular effect on all of us. In fact, we can affectionately call him Uncle Steve. And Uncle Steve, you left quite the legacy behind. PCC is not the institution. Dr. Rose is the institution. And one day I hope we have a statue in front to celebrate him, or name many buildings after him, or streets for that matter, but we have to pave them first. River Street. It's kind of silly. But nevertheless, and I'm concluding, I promise. One of my favorite phrases, and I recite it, and Maritza knows this, was nothing so near can take you so far. That's right. Dr. Rose, you'll never be far from us because you'll always be near and dear to our hearts. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Mayor Lure, and no, I want to just thank Lure and Dr. Fishner and Secretary of State, Dr. Caldwell, and to Mayor Lure, to how you follow up after Andre Sayer? You know, he's just dismantled after he goes forth and whatnot. You always know how to suck up with Steve with Bruce Springsteen. You always knew how to do that. One of the wonderful things about music has the uncanny ability to come through a melody and express things that we really can't express through words. Today, we have the pleasure of having a group that assembled here at this college. One of the original members, Donald General, I saw him, where's Don? General. There he is, and the drummer extraordinary, and Mike Silvestro, and Sam Ayala, and Alan Micknick. They call themselves Tenure Track. No, for real, they call themselves Tenure Track. And they were a staple here at our college, and it was important that they played because they played in front of the administrative staff, support staff, and our students. And it did something for our community college family to see these professionals who did what they do go and show their talent with music. But then there would always be one special guest. And Dr. Stevie Rose would come with his acoustic guitar, and everyone would be amazed that the president could play the guitar and sing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of the way, and there's a tribute with Bruce Springsteen. They're going to play a song, and then after that, Tenure Track is going to perform for us.
So as you heard, Dr. Rose always liked Bruce Springsteen. And over the years, I heard him play many Bruce songs, but we picked out one today that I think was kind of special to him. And if you happen to know it, I hope you'll sing along. We said we'd walk together, baby, come what may. That come the twilight, should we lose our way. And as we're walking, if a hand should slip free, don't wait for you. And should I fall behind, wait for me. We swore we'd travel, darling, side by side. We'd help each other to stay in stride. But each lover steps far so differently. I'll wait for you, and should I fall behind, wait for me. Now each person steps far so differently. But you and I know what the world can do. I'll wait for you, and you wait for me. If I should fall, you please wait for me. Now there's a beautiful river in the valley ahead, and there 'neath the oak bough soon we will be wed. And if we lose each other in the shadow of the evening tree, I'll wait for you. Should I fall behind, wait for me. Darling, I'll wait for you. Should I fall behind, wait for me. Darling, I'll wait for you. Should I fall behind, wait for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. This portion of our memorial is our time of reflection from within. You've heard from all of these wonderful leaders, their relationship, even though they were within, but they had an outside relationship as well. But there's a different perspective from within. Ladies and gentlemen, help me greet the professor of chemistry and a friend of Dr. Rose in overtime and longevity. Dr. Fred is going to come first, and then right after him, we're going to have Edwin come representing, as you see in your program, all of the administrator and support staff, and then our very own councilwoman and director of the Passaic County, Passaic Academic Center, Maritza Davia, in that order. Thank you.
Over 30 years, I had a lot of professional experiences with Steve Rose, but I want to start with my first personal one. And it was my brand new at the college, been here a short time. He was actually just stopped being the acting president. And I was walking through the spine, and he's coming towards me, and being a good boy and barely knew, I went, "Good morning, Dr. Rose." And he stopped. He gave me that little smile, and he said, "My name is Steve." Okay? And that, I could actually stop talking right there, because that tells you all you need to know about the man. He was about people, not pomp. You know, it was the people. And a year later, I'd be sitting in my first contract negotiations, and we were meeting at 6 a.m., because that was all the time we could find, and he had bought us breakfast. And unlike the 5 of us, he was bright as a daisy. The rest of us were wondering what day it was. Now, I had just come from negotiating for the graduate students against the SUNY system, which you can imagine what that was like. And I quickly discovered that I didn't know much about negotiations, because it wasn't a negotiation. It was a discussion between professionals who had mutual respect for each other. That was what it was. How could we make things better for the institution? Not who's going to win, who's going to get something. Okay? That was what was important. And when Steve would look at you and say, "Look, we really can't do that," we dropped it. We didn't move on. We didn't, kick our feet, scream, because he had earned a credibility that so few people have. When he said he couldn't do it, he couldn't, and you knew why. And it wasn't some made-up nonsense. There was a legitimate reason. And in fact, I'll give you one of the greatest pieces of advice he gave me, which was, it's not enough to be right. It's how you're right that gets people to listen to you. When I got that through my thick head, I stopped being an assistant professor that nobody cared about to becoming the guy in the program. It took a while, and there were a few other helping hands. But speaking of the program, that is so appropriate, that picture. Now, everybody's talked about commencement, but at our last negotiation, he only asked for one thing. And what it was isn't important, but the one thing was about commencement. And it wasn't about something he wanted. It was something for the students. It was something about the event. Okay? And of course, we gave it to him fairly quickly, but it was because it was never about him. And you couldn't make it about him. And if you tried to make it about him, he would deflect so fast you'd get whiplash if you weren't careful. I mean, it was amazing. Now, on the impact of the academics, early in my career here, we would be put on state committees. And we would be informed fairly rapidly that the opinion of the representative from PCC was not really of much interest to the other community colleges. Can you imagine that happening today? Our representatives today are sought out, and they're listened to. And they're listened to because of the work that Steve Rose has done and that these gentlemen just laid out for us. Okay, and it's all because of him. And I can talk for hours about what he did for the faculty, but Randy would get upset. But when there was a problem, when I would go into Steve with a problem, and Professor Siegel, my predecessor, will bear this out, the discussion, Steve was more interested in helping the person. Other presidents would have taken the easy way out with HR and buried it or whatever, but Steve was, what can we do for the person? And that's why in 30 years here, the number of grievances we had, 0. Because in talking to him, he honestly felt that if I ever reached the point where I needed to take a legal route, we had failed. He had failed me, and I had failed him. Because it was our job to discuss it and find a way to make things better for both of us. When other college presidents were eliminating shared governance because they considered it interference, Steve called me into the office to complain that he wasn't getting enough advice from the shared governance. Took that back very quickly. No, he didn't, I did. Post-COVID, other presidents were ordering furloughs and reducing in force. Steve was more concerned with preserving the people, and he would consider it a failure in the budget if he couldn't come up with a way to preserve the people as well as coming up with balancing the budget. We were what was important, not him, not the money, us. It's why today, if you look around the room, we have so many retired members of the college here. We have a substantial number of emeritus faculty going all the way back to 1971, one of our original faculty, Professor Lyons, and Professor Harrington, one of our second group of faculty, 1972, has made a substantial donation to the PCC Foundation in Steve Rose's name, just because of his ability to take us from what we are to what we are today, a force in so many lives. So we as a faculty, we're going to mourn the loss of the professional relationship. There's no question. But we're far and away going to mourn the personal loss far more. The open door, the openness, and just the man more than the office. And in his memory, I'm just going to leave you with his own words in an exchange we had so many times it stuck on my brain forever. I'd walk in the office and I'd say, "Hi, Steve, how's everything going?" He'd get that little smile, a little head shake, and he'd say, "It's all good. Thank you very much."
Good morning, everyone. I'm honored today to speak today as we remember and celebrate the life of Dr. Rose, a man who meant so much to so many and someone who had a profound impact in my life personally. Dr. Rose was more than an educator, more than a leader, and more than a colleague. He was a mentor, a guide, and someone who truly believed in the potential of others. He was not only the president of the college, but also a devoted husband and a loving father. Above all titles he carried, family was at the heart of who he was. He had a gift for seeing something in people before they even saw it in themselves. I can say from personal experience that Dr. Rose always encouraged me to aim higher, to keep pushing forward, and to never settle for less than what I was capable of achieving. One of the things I will always carry with me are the times he told me he was proud of me. Those simple words meant more than he may have ever known. They gave me confidence, motivation, and a reminder that someone I deeply respected believed in me. When I told Dr. Rose I was running for office in Woodland Park, he was genuinely happy for me. He immediately began sharing words of encouragement, wisdom, and guidance about public service. What does it mean to serve others? The challenges to expect, and the responsibilities that come with it. Those conversations were powerful, and his words will stay with me forever. What made Dr. Rose truly special was that he cared deeply about people, especially students. He believed in helping them achieve their goals, opening doors, and giving them the opportunities to succeed. He understood that education was not just about degrees, but about changing lives. So many people are better today because Dr. Rose took the time to encourage them, guide them, and believe in them. His legacy will not only be found in the titles he held or the work he accomplished, but the countless lives he touched and lifted along the way. Personally, I will always be grateful for his belief in me, for his mentorship, and for the example he set. He's shown us that true leadership is not about power. It is about service, compassion, and helping others rise. Today we mourn his loss, but we also celebrate a life that was meaningful, impactful, and well-lived. As a president, as a mentor, a husband, a father, and a friend to so many. Rest in peace, Dr. Rose. Thank you for all you gave this college, to its students, to your colleagues, and to all of us who were blessed enough to know you. And if you truly want to honor him, then we carry forward what he gave us by believing in others, by lifting people up, and by leading with the same compassion and integrity that he showed every single day, because that's how his legacy lives on. Not just in memory, but in all of us. Thank you.
Ooh. Good morning, everyone. To Dr. Rose's beloved family, to the Board of Trustees, our interim president, Dr. Kenevi, administrators, faculty, staff, students, and esteemed guests. On behalf of the staff, faculty, and administrators whose lives were touched by Dr. Rose, I am honored to share a few words as we remember and celebrate his life and legacy. Before I continue, I was a favorite before the mayor was. 32 years. Your family, like blood, work family. That's why I'm standing here. No. Dr. Rose was more than a president. He was a mentor, a leader, a counselor, a supporter, and for many of us, a steady and reassuring presence in our lives. Personally, Dr. Rose changed the course of my life. In 1994, when I was just 22, fresh graduate out of college, he hired me. He was the dean of students. The dean of admissions. And he hired me as the bilingual counselor recruiter. That used to be a title back then. And that was in 1994. From the very beginning, he saw something in me, even before I fully saw it in myself. He was a father figure to me. He helped guide me through decisions that may have seemed small to others, but meant so much at the stage of my life, including me and helping me understand something as practical as choosing the right health plan. When I started, I didn't have a health plan. And I remember, not having a job, and he goes, "You got a good benefits package." And I'm like, "What's that?" I'm sorry, it's the truth. I'm the youngest of four, first gen, right? We went through a lot here in Patterson. I'm still here serving. But bringing it back to Dr. Rose. He was there for me even when my son was born. He encouraged me to go back to school and earn my master's. And just months after that, because he said, "You don't go back to school, no promotion." He didn't believe in courtesy interviews. And just months after I got my master's degree, he promoted me to the assistant director of admissions. Dr. Rose believed in people. He encouraged growth, not just professionally, but personally. He encouraged me to become a homeowner. He told me about this program. It was right before 9/11, and it was Live Where You Work. And he said, "You should become a homeowner." And that program helped me. It was a $15,000 grant. Couldn't sell my home for 7 years. If not, I would have to pay back the money. And it is through that program that I was able to become a homeowner. That was who Dr. Rose was. Then 9/11 happened, and the program was shut down, and I was the last person to be grandfathered in. So you see how God works in mysterious ways, and he uses individuals to touch people's lives. I feel a little emotional because he helped guide me through processes. That's who he was. He did not just lead from an office or from a title. He led by investing in people. Dr. Rose was always informed, very informed, thoughtful, and grounded. He had a way of making you feel calm, even in difficult moments. I won't forget when I called him and I found out that he was sick. And I said, Dr. Rose, he goes, don't cry. I'm going to be fine. But something in his voice, I knew that that wasn't so. He would always say, everything is going to be okay. Even when I ran for office, he goes, you sure you want to do that? That's a thankless job. But when I won the first time and on, he continued to encourage me because he said, somebody has to do the work. He had confidence, wisdom, and a deep sense of care that made people feel seen, supported, and valued. He saw the good in people, and in every situation, he encouraged us, he supported us, he challenged us to keep moving forward. He cared deeply for students, but also for the staff, faculty, and administrators who served alongside him. Dr. Rose was truly an institution of knowledge, but more than that, he was a good man and a good leader. I did not simply respect him because he was the president. I respected him because of the way he led, the way he cared, and the way he touched the lives of so many people. His legacy will live on in the students he helped, the employees he mentored, the institution he strengthened, and the countless lives that he impacted along the way. Dr. Rose will deeply be missed, but his example will continue to guide us. May we honor him not only with our words today, but through the way we lead, serve, encourage, and care for one another. Thank you, Dr. Rose, for everything. Rest in peace.
Probably more than the hours that a college president spends on legal matters with Mike Cerrone, or handling the budget that he spent a lot of hours working with Sandy, the countless hours that he met with the board of trustees, the time that he met planning all of the grants that grew our program with Todd. These next two individuals, probably with the exception, or might be very close with the family, he spent an absorbent amount of time with these two individuals. In fact, when they showed up at Newark Airport, the people said, they're back again. Ladies and gentlemen, these two individuals worked side by side with Dr. Rose, planning the administration, the plans, the things that we didn't see. They spent hours traveling, conferences, planning here. And they want to come at this time and bring their reflections on behalf of the portion of the college. Jackie and Basil, come at this time.
I knew Steve Rose for 37 years. He came to Passaic in '87 to become the director of admissions. I came in '89 to direct the nursing program. Steve eventually moved to the vice president for academic affairs, and in 1997 became the president of Passaic County Community College. I followed shortly after that as the VP for academic affairs, reporting directly to Steve. I reported directly to Steve Rose for 31 years. Steve was a great administrator. He left the college in great shape, a great position, a great Middle States visit in 2024, labor unions that have been settled, future expansion of Passaic that's well on its way, a partnership with the county for Rifle Camp Environmental Center, several renovations of the Patterson campus that are near completion, and many more accomplishments too numerous to mention. In addition, he also was a commissioner with Middle States and also taught doctoral courses at Rowan. Steve believed in participatory management. We may disagree with the decision made, but we all participated. The best thing about Steve's management style was that you didn't know you were being managed.
So true.
We never had weekly appointments. He never sent me emails about things to do. He would come down to academic affairs around 5 o'clock a couple of times a week. We would sit around and talk. Then when he left, we knew what we had to do. I really don't know how he did that. In addition to being a great administrator, he was a lot of fun. Every year, Steve, Basil, and I would go to the American Association of Community Colleges convention, which was usually in one of the United States' largest cities. Steve would plan our trip way in advance, knew the sights to see, lunch and dinner, and before we arrived, everything would be settled, where we were going to go, what we were going to do. He always identified the best restaurants in the city. Once, when we were in Seattle, Basil and I were looking for a Dunkin' Donuts. Steve informed us this was Starbucks country. From that time on, we were called the coffee snobs. The next year, we went to Minneapolis. Steve had his schedule that we should visit the Mall of America. As we walked through the mall, Steve noticed that the light was on at the Krispy Kreme store. He told us to hurry. They were making a batch of donuts. We quickly ran to the store, and we bought more donuts than we could eat. We gave them away to the shoppers in the mall. They thought we were for Krispy Kreme. But in conclusion, I want to say how caring and sensitive he was to the feelings of others. Before the beginning of this semester, about one day before, I called him and said that my best friend had passed away and I wouldn't be back that Monday. He never told me that he had been ill and in the hospital. And when I asked him, why didn't you tell me that you had been ill? He said, you had enough to worry about. I didn't want to burden you any longer. In closing, Steve created a great institution, and our job is to make it even greater. It will continue to be a premier institution. On a personal note, I look in his office door and expect him to walk through it. I miss him very much. Thank you.
I've been more than privileged and fortunate to have known Steve Rose for a good 40 years. And speaking of favorite, I think you know now who the favorite is, but that's another story. You know, having worked with this institution for over 40 years, I have been, worked with 4 different administrations. And what comes to mind is actually, it's amazing of what one human being can do to an entire institution. In all honesty, in all fairness, Steve Rose turned this institution around and made us all very proud. I cannot tell you how many state meetings prior to Steve taking over and then becoming, a legend in higher ed, whether in the county or state or national level. We were embarrassed, honestly, to say we are from Passaic County Community College. The reputation was not great back then. Steve made us all very proud, and we would just stand up and just say, yes, we represent Passaic County Community College. Steve was a lot more than a college president to me. Having worked with him, having known him for 40 years, Steve was a great mentor, and you have heard it from others as well. He was a great friend as well, but most of all to me, he was family. Steve was a great president, a great leader, a great visionary, an educator. But he was an eternal optimist. And we used to joke about this all the time. When the Titanic was 50 feet under, I'm not kidding you. Steve would say, no, it's a minor leak, it's still, floating, and don't worry about it. But, this is the type of person that Steve Rose was, with regard to the world. And I have to admit, his positive energy has empowered us to basically excel and achieve and do what we really needed to do. With all the traits and the qualities that Steve Rose possessed over the years, I have to basically reflect on Steve Rose as one of the kindest and greatest human beings I have ever met. And there are so many stories, Jackie just mentioned, that the numerous trips that we have had over the years, and they were always adventures. The one thing that we did not worry about is actually where we go and where we eat. Steve always had it all planned out, and it was terrific. Some of you may or may not know, but half of my life with PCCC was a faculty member and a department chair, and I was extremely happy doing that. After 20-some years in teaching and being a chair, I went to see Steve one day. He was just, become a permanent president, and Jackie was appointed the vice president. Went to see him, and I said, Steve, the formality between closed doors was not there. It was Basil, Jackie, Steve, etc. And I said, Steve, I did my due diligence. I contributed to the department, to the college, went with you to Trenton to testify, and it's time for me to go back and just enjoy life, teach classes, spend some time with my family. Steve was amazing in turning things around, and you really never know what possessed you. He started talking about academia and what we have done and the team and what have you, and he said, why don't you consider the administration? I said, Steve, with all due respect, I hate the administration. And I really said this. I said, with one exception, and that's you, Steve. He said, okay, why don't you go talk to Jackie? I said, Steve, I really have no interest in becoming an administrator. He said, try it for 1 year. 26 years later, I'm still an administrator, But I have to admit, again, going back to Steve Rose as a great human being, I remember the last time I actually saw Steve was back in January of this year. It was a Monday, January 5th. I was in my office on my computer, minding my own business, trying to catch up. And then I think 2:30, 2:40, I don't remember exactly, Steve shows up in my office. And he looked visibly ill. He had lost weight, and he had his hand on his, belly, I guess. And you could see he was in pain. He pulled a chair, he sat down. I did not even suggest that, but he just helped himself. So Steve sat down, and I said, Steve, what's going on? You have lost weight, you look in pain. And he said, stop. Okay, I stopped. He said, I'm not here to talk about Steve Rose. I need to know what happened to you. Unfortunately, I've had my share of medical adventures over the years, and I had an adventure back in December. I had to basically be admitted, and I was in the hospital for 5 days. Thank God, everything is under control. So I'm explaining to Steve, and Steve is listening, and I said, Steve, did you tell Jackie? And then you heard the story from Jackie. He said, no, Jackie had enough. She is mourning, her friend's loss, and she does not need more stress. Steve was compassionate, Steve was caring, and you have heard it from others. He touched so many of us in so many different ways. He was the first college president that actually had what we call an open door policy. It was a dream for so many of us. God knows there were times when we had to wait for 4 or 5 weeks to make an appointment to see the president. Steve Rose was the total opposite. And that's why he was loved by everybody. In addition to being a great human being, I have to basically admit that Steve Rose was a master of so many projects, innovation. And I want specifically to talk about actually home projects and home repairs. You all know it, the curse of owning a home is endless, and Steve Rose was an authority. You name it, he got it. So one day, as Jackie mentioned, we always, made a habit of going to the national convention, the AACC convention, and this time the convention was in New York City, and I always hated driving to New York. So Steve volunteered, and Jackie, the coffee snob, said, "I will meet you in New York." And I said, "Steve, I'll take the bus." He said, "No, Basil, just drive up to my house, and I'll be happy more than to drive together." I said, "That would be great." I drive up, parked my car in the driveway, got my, small suitcase, and ready to get into Steve's car to drive to New York. He said, "No, you're not going anywhere. Leave your suitcase in the car. I know you are a snob also, but Alexia makes great coffee, and you would really appreciate that." Alexia, the coffee was outstanding. But of course, it did not even start here. Before we go into the house, he said, "You need to see my shed." And I had bugged Steve before, having tools, etc. I needed to buy a shed. He said, "You need to see my shed." So I walked to the side of the house, a huge shed, no less. And, he opened the two doors, and I have to admit, on one side, Home Depot, the other side was Lowe's. And, it was fascinating. I honestly cannot think of any human being that would have owned so many gadgets, so many tools, and he never held back. Anytime I needed a tool, "Basil, don't buy it, I got it. Keep it as long as you want." In closing, Steve's legacy will last a lifetime. We will definitely miss him a lot. He will be in our thoughts forever. My most sincere condolences to the college community, to the higher ed community, to the community at large, but most of all to his beloved family. My condolences, and thank you very much.
As we get near the end, I want to take some liberties and speak to you for a moment, family. We want to say thank you. Thank you for lending him to us. Steve is, he's a Renaissance man. He knows all that he knows, and you all shared him. You shared him with gladness. You shared him. That's not easy. And so before we go any further, we want to say thank you so much, because we are all better for you allowing him to be a part of this institution, and as you've heard today, part of all of our lives today. Whether it was building buildings with Steve Copper, you shared him. The time that he had with us here, pray for Maritza, she still thinks she's the favorite. You shared him, and there she goes. But we want to really sincerely say thank you. So at this time, Alexia, Emily, Jenna, and Hal, we want you to come up. Ladies and gentlemen, would you give them a round of applause? Encourage them as they come as a family. Come on, let's show them how much we love them and how much we love Steve.
Before I get started with my prepared remarks, there's a few things I think we should clear up. There's debate up here about who the favorite is. He's known me since I was born. Enough said, but we wanted to clear that one up. Sorry, guys. Yeah. There was something else I was going to clear up, but we'll get to that. Yes, there's a few things that I may be sharing with you today that are going to be a little bit surprising to the folks that worked with him in particular. Some of you know that, well, the typical nickname for Stephen is Steve. His nickname was Mel. And this all stems back to his college days when he went to Muhlenberg. And he was the one person there that loved everything about it, from the terrible food to the housing to you name it, he loved it. And he loved it so much, his nickname became Melvin Muhlenberg. It really applies to PCCC as well, but it just didn't work. He was already Mel, and you couldn't really do Peter CCC or something like that. It just didn't work. So with the rest of the family talking, with me talking today, it's much more natural for us to refer to him as Mel than it is to Steve. So I'm sure you can make that move over. Before there was Yahoo, before there was Google, before there was ChatGPT, there was Mel. There was Steve Rose. It's not that he was a know-it-all, but he knew it all. He was always the smartest guy in the room, but he never acted like he was the smartest guy in the room. He was a bit of a contradiction, being both a shy person, really, and also a fantastic leader who understood his role and certainly took it seriously. And we're here to celebrate his life and his accomplishments today. There are really three key passions in his life. One being his family, one being PCCC, and the other being Bruce Springsteen, which from the music that was playing when we walked in, it seems like everybody certainly knows that one. What you may not know is he was not always a Bruce Springsteen fan. I know, I'm sharing some controversial information here, but if we go back to 1975, and I'm in high school, and one of the tennis players, I was on the tennis team, loans me Born to Run, and I go home and put on the big headphones and I'm listening to it, and it just blew me away. It's the first time that I think I found religion, and probably the last time. But I would play it and play it and play it, and he would come over to my room and say, "Turn it down and close your door." Fast forward a couple of years, I convinced him, I think it was 1981, and I had tickets for Springsteen at the Spectrum, and I convinced him, "You should go, you'll enjoy the show. I got a ticket, come with me." And he went, and nothing was the same for him after that. He found religion 10 times over what I did. And although I got to go and see Springsteen a number of times at the local seashore bars, which was always a fantastic experience to be right there That wasn't really what Mel was into, but he made up for it by going to over 200 Springsteen concerts in his life. He could not get enough. Let's see. Speaking of Bruce, I feel like all of us who knew him, I kind of feel like we're the E Street Band now without Bruce Springsteen. I'm a bit of a music nut. I could compare it also to the Heartbreakers without Tom Petty. It's just not the same, but we need to move on. We need to carry on and celebrate his life and honor his memory. There's one Springsteen song in particular that I think is incredibly fitting to Steve, to Mel. If you're not familiar with it, I would encourage you to look up the lyrics, listen to it, but it's called Terry's Song, and it's about 10 years old. And it talks about the loss that was incurred by Springsteen with his road manager. But it certainly could have been written about Steve, and it just reminds me of him so much every time that I listen to him. So for now, for his colleagues and family and friends, we celebrate his life and send him off with love, respect, and appreciation for having played the role that he played in our lives. Thank you.
Just for the record, Steve Rose was my favorite. Steve and I met back in 1978 at school when we were very, very young. One spring evening, right before his college graduation, because I was younger than him, I asked him, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And he answered right away, "A college president, of course." And I laughed and laughed. Like, what were the odds of that happening, right? I didn't even know that you could become a college president. I thought people just like got appointed to that job, like you didn't try out for it or anything. Well, we both finished school, got jobs, got married, and got kids. And then one day, it seemed just like that, he became one. A baby college president at the age of 38. How did that happen? Here's another fun fact. Steve applied for a job at PCCC back in 1981. This is going to sound funny, especially to any young people in the room. But in those days, you had to mail a resume or your CV in response to a job listing in a newspaper. And the employer doing the job search would mail back a little postcard. And on the postcard, it would confirm receipt of your resume, right? That's nice. Sometimes the postcard told you to expect a phone call to set up an interview, but mostly they told you, "Thanks, but no thanks. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors. See you, bye." Well, Steve got one of those postcards in 1981, and he kept it for the longest time, even after he finally did get a job at PCCC in 1987. And I told him to hold on to this postcard. And he got promoted and promoted again, and he kept the postcard It's somewhere. It might even be in the college someplace. Someone's going to find it. Just remember, life has a funny way of reuniting people and places. So even if you never get a postcard for a job, just think about how the world is circular and you're going to come back and meet somebody who you met before. Steve loved his work, and he loved this place. He loved this community. If he wasn't home with me, his family, and his lawn, he was here. And that was fine. It was my incentive to finally become a student here myself. Because I am the least educated person in my family of 4 with just a bachelor's degree. Everybody else has advanced degrees. So he encouraged me to go back for fine arts. Was it as good as everybody told me? Yes, turns out it is. And I will be back this fall to continue my education here. Thank you. It is a very rare thing to find a workplace where people stay for years and years. Steve was so proud of you, this community, and all the work you do with purpose and professionalism. He was proud of the students and their work. It was always about the work. He knew the tremendous effort it was for students to commit, to complete. Please do not stop. Keep going. With that in mind, I would like to share this quote attributed to the ancient Greek Pericles. What you leave behind is not engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others. I want to express the deepest thanks to everyone who has said prayers, made intentions, sent love, light, and food to us. Being with you now is a blessing. May his memory be a blessing, as we can never forget Steve. He is part of the fabric of our very living. With my deepest gratitude from my family to you, thank you all for being here today. Thank you.
Good morning. The story goes that in the weeks leading up to my birth, my dad told my mom that the baby could be born any day except Monday, July 27th. Steve had a board meeting at the college that day. But given that it was the summer, the rest of his week was flexible. Any day but Monday would do. Anyway, I was born on Monday, July 27th at 9:48 in the morning, and you're probably wondering, no, he did not make it to the board meeting that day. And yes, that was one of the last times my dad tried to tell me what to do. Because I am the favorite. In this day and age, I know how rare it is to have a parent stay at one job for the eternity of your life. And I don't think I can talk about my dad, his life, and his legacy without talking about the ubiquitous presence that is Passaic County Community College in my life. My family and I are forever grateful for the community he found, created, and cultivated here at the college. I hold degrees from multiple institutions, and I work in higher education myself. And there is only one institution that is known in our family and in my life as the college, and that is PCCC. From an early age, my dad instilled an unshakable duty in me to show up for your community. I have a million examples of my dad helping and supporting his friends, colleagues, neighbors, and students. I cannot tell you the number of family vacations we planned around helping someone complete electrical work, fix a kitchen sink, buy a new car, buy new glasses, you name it. That intrinsic drive to be helpful also extended to his community here at the college. And as a kid, many days off from school were spent here on campus, where my dad would escort us to a different office for the day of shredding paper, stuffing envelopes, and packing boxes. And he would come back to bring us to the cafeteria to grab lunch, and then it was back to work in the afternoon. If there was work to be done, my dad saw no ethical issue with child labor, so long as it was his children being employed. I also, for the record, had to run after a Krispy Kreme open light many times. Steve always wanted to be part of the solution and was always in the pursuit of making the world better for others. I am sure most of you can think of an example of this from your own time with him, but my favorite story involves the game Roller Coaster Tycoon. In the game, you can build and run an amusement park, and I absolutely loved playing it as a kid. I was probably 8 years old, and I asked my dad how much he thought I should charge for the patrons to ride each ride in my theme park. And he replied, in all seriousness, that charging per ride was a terrible business model. No one on vacation wants to worry about carrying around that amount of cash for the day, and instead I should charge a flat entrance fee that covers the cost for ride maintenance and let attendees spend their money on food and souvenirs. Now, in the real world, charging a flat entrance fee for an amusement park is probably an incredibly sound business model, backed by decades of market research. So who was I to question him? I was merely an 8-year-old amusement park tycoon. And I followed his guidance, and I proceeded to bankrupt every single park I built in the game. My reason for sharing this story is twofold. One, this man was thinking this deeply about the consumer experience of completely fictional people. Consider how much thought he would put into the bettering the lives of actual people. And two, this is probably the only bad piece of advice my dad ever gave me. Steve loved students. He loved students here at the college, his doctoral students at Rowan, and any other student who was in the pursuit of education. The only exception to this was when I was taking pre-calculus my junior year of high school. That might have been the only time he said, this might be a lost cause. The C+ I received in the class hasn't held me back too much in life, however. When I was a professional writing major at the College of New Jersey, I was working in the library one night with an acquaintance from one of my journalism classes, and she told me she was writing up an assignment related to the NJ STARS program. And I asked her if it would be helpful to talk to a community college president. It was about 9:30 at night, and she looked at me like I had 8 heads. Well, yeah, she said. Do you have the name of someone I could email in the morning? And I said, I can do you one better. I can call one right now. I called my dad and I asked if he had time to chat with a friend about an assignment she was working on, and the answer was naturally, of course, and I handed over the phone. They spoke for about 20 minutes, and when she was done, she handed the phone back over to me, and he said, bring your car home this weekend. It probably needs an oil change. And he promptly hung up. My dad deeply understood how access to education can transform and change the lives for the better. And as an optimist, he saw students as the pinnacle of endless opportunity. And also he saw it as a great honor to play a hand in making the lives of his students and the community more enriched through the power of education. I miss my dad every day, and I know many of you do too. It has been a hard few months trying to figure out what life will be like without him, and also figure out how to do my own taxes. Which I hopefully did right, but his spirit is always here. I wish we all had more time with him, but I am so grateful that he prepared me well for many of life's challenges to come, as a good educator does. It feels fitting to celebrate his life during graduation season. It is a helpful reminder that there are students to serve, colleagues to support, and good still to do. And I know he still expects us all to celebrate the achievements of the year, check in on one another, and of course, have a little bite to eat. Thank you.
Good morning. I love that. It feels very fitting to be here because I feel like he became employed here the year I was born in 1987. And I feel like most of my memories are in this room, being at graduation ceremonies and the pigs in blankets. I remember all of the pigs in blankets. And so it feels really fitting to be here as we remember and celebrate Dad. And especially this time of year, because it really was his favorite season, commencement season. My family and I have felt so supported by the college these past few weeks. Visiting and talking with you all has brought us incredible comfort. The words I heard a lot were, "Thank you for sharing him with us." But we have to thank you for having him. Because he wouldn't have been the dad we had at home if he didn't have PCCC. I also have to thank you for allowing him to work until the end of his life. His world grew small during his illness, and it gave him incredible peace to continue to contribute here. And I know that must have come with challenges in the last few months. But from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for that, because I know he needed it. It's hard to pick one word to describe any person, much less Mel. But if I had to choose only one, it would be the word contented. He had this unique ability to have drive and ambition and still be present in the moment and enjoy where he was. We would ask him sometimes silly questions. We would say, "Dad, what's your favorite food?" He'd say, "Whatever I'm eating right now." He would come home from work like on a Friday when we were kids, and we'd say, "Dad, how was your day at work?" He'd go, "Good. Let's go mow the lawn, or rake our leaves, or lay this hardwood floor. If you help me, it will only take 20 minutes. And let me tell you something, it did not only take 20 minutes. It took far more. But there was a learning curve because I had to understand eventually that he wasn't lying when he said it would only take 20 minutes, because in his head, it only felt like 20 minutes. So he wasn't lying to me when he said it. He often said, even at the end of his life, that he had the best job in the world. It didn't mean that it didn't come with complications or stress, but he derived so much joy from his work, and that clearly outweighed any drawbacks it had. And that ability to maintain his positive perspective, that came naturally to him. But that mindset, it takes work to maintain. And if there is anything he was good at, it was work. He deeply understood the value of purpose in life. Calling his role here a job doesn't really do it justice. Most people don't come to the end of their time wishing they had worked more. He was truly the exception to that rule. He was honestly the exception to most rules. Conformity was not his style. He always strived for progress, even if the road there was sometimes unconventional. New ideas were not a thing he shied away from, and he was always open to thinking creatively to solve a problem. If you had to condense his philosophy of life to one guiding principle, it was to nurture the ability to learn something new. We all walk a journey to know our parents, to understand what makes them tick. One of those moments that helped me understand him better was the time he was the most proud of me. And it's probably not one you're imagining. It wasn't any award ceremony. It was not a concert or a recital. It wasn't my white coat ceremony. It was not my wedding. It was not any commencement I was fortunate enough to walk in. It was at home, in our yard, working on a project. We had a deck on the back of our house that had aged, and it was time to redo the top of it. And the layout of the yard had changed. The deck had a curve in it for a pool that was there, and the pool was no longer there. And so if you're going to redo the top of the deck, you might as well square it off and make more space. And this, of course, made it more complicated. It would involve adding a new footing beneath the newly extended corner of the deck, and that meant extending everything beneath the deck to meet the new footing. But there was a problem. Dad didn't build this deck. It was built by these contractors who had put an addition on the house many years before, and Dad was stressed, if you believe it. He said, "I know how I would have done this. But all these guys have their own little ways, and we're gonna have to do what they did, so it all lines up, and it's gonna be tricky." That's how we would talk. And so we get to work, and we take everything down, and it's like summer, so it's hot, it's sweaty. And we get down to the footings, and sure enough, he was right. It was a contractor special. They had cut all of these grooves and all the footings for the beams, and we would have to cut all our footing the same to connect it all. But of course, the original one was weathered and worn, and these cuts needed to be precise, and it was going to be difficult to measure them. And so there we were, sitting on the ground in the summer sun, sweaty and dirty, looking at the hole in the ground we had just dug, with a problem to solve. And then it hit me. And I said, "Well, Dad, if the groove just needs to fit the wood beam, wouldn't you just cut out the size of the wood beam?" And he looked up at me. His face was beaming, and he cracked a smile, and he just goes, "You're right." I hadn't read anything about building codes for decks. I didn't study up on footings beforehand, but I was able to wrap my mind around a problem and figure out a solution when he was too close to see it himself. That was truly his wish for everyone. Information for the sake of it wasn't the goal. Helping people build confidence in their ability to figure it out. That was the whole point. It was true for him at work, and it was true for him at home. His success hinged on compartmentalizing his worlds, but he was still the same person walking through both. Whether you worked alongside him in his office, sat on a committee with him, you took one of his classes, you came to his house for a barbecue, whether he was your advisor, your uncle, your friend, or your family, trust me when I tell you, you knew him. So if you find yourself in the future wondering what he would say, trust yourself that you already know. He would not want us to feel lost without him. That would go against everything he worked for. His enduring legacy in this world will be the trust that we have in ourselves, that no matter the problem, we'll be able to figure it out. Thank you so much.
Family, thank you so much for giving us additional insights into the family and into the life of our beloved Stephen Mel, if you would. Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end, but the truth of the matter is really the beginning. The beginning for us to do, as Emily and Jenna have instructed us, to really live out his legacy, is to carry on the way he would want us to. So to that end, I want to say thank you. I understand it was a request for me to be here from him, and that he wanted me here and to work on this memorial. I appreciate that, and I love him. But I can't really take the credit. I want to point to Mike Cerrone and Stephanie, who put all the work together. No, they deserve, they put it all together. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Mike. There are refreshments in the cafeteria, and we want to invite, on behalf of the family, each and every one of you to come and share and get a chance to see the family and to begin to engage in some of the friendships and partnerships of those who doesn't really feel like being employed at Passaic County Community College, but come back and see family that you haven't seen in a while. We thank you for all of you who have labored here and have given. Thank you, Chairman. Our former Lieutenant Governor, Taisha Way, we thank you all for being here today. Our board, all that you've done. We appreciate all of that. Having said all of that, at this time, thank you to this panel. We're going to ask everyone to rise for our benediction. Just before I leave, I want to, my family knew, like all of us, how difficult it is. My youngest son, Joel, who's 21, he called me this morning. I didn't see it coming. He says, "Dad, I think I better go with you today." And I want to say, son, I love you. Thank you for coming with your dad today. Let us pray. Gracious Father, as we prepare to conclude this celebration, may we leave this place challenged as our dearly beloved brother would have wanted us to live better, be better, lead greater, and serve deeper. Father, we thank you for the example and the demonstration that Dr. Stephen M. Rose lived among us. We thank you for all that he showed and all the care that he gave. Thank you for your loving arms being around his family. And thank you for the direction that you'll give this institution. Now, as we leave out of this place, but never from your presence, let your spirit rest, rule, and abide with us. In the matchless, wonderful name of Jesus the Christ, we pray. Amen. Please join us in the cafeteria. There are some, we have some escorts to help you get there. I think they're in the, right there in the hallway to help you get there. God bless you. Thank you so much.